My husband ruined his daughter's graduation in front of everyone, and I was the target. He grabbed the microphone, smiled at the crowd, and said, "Let's thank my wife for raising my mistress's daughter." The room went silent. After 18 years of loving that girl, I suddenly became the woman everyone was supposed to pity. I wanted to disappear. Then my daughter stood up. She walked toward the stage, took the microphone from her father, and stared at him for several seconds. Then she looked at me and said, "Mom, I think it's time everyone knew what Dad did." My husband's face went completely pale. The applause was still echoing through the auditorium when my husband stood up and took the microphone. I was sitting in the third row, holding my phone in both hands, trying not to cry. Not because I was sad, because I was proud. My daughter had just graduated. For 18 years, I had waited for that moment. I watched her walk across the stage in her maroon cap and gown, smiling so brightly that for a few seconds, I forgot every painful thing that had brought us there. And I forgot that the little girl walking across that stage had never been mine by blood. She was mine by everything else. Her name was Emily. When I first met her, she was 6 months old, sleeping against her father's chest while he stared at me with terrified eyes.
He had cheated on me.
The baby was proof. I still remember him saying, "I didn't know how to tell you." Neither did I know how to answer. I couldn't have children of my own, and for years, that had been the deepest wound in our marriage. Doctors had told us there was almost no chance. I had learned to smile whenever someone asked when we were going to start a family. Then Emily arrived. Instead, I looked at that tiny baby and realized none of this was her fault. So I stayed. Not for my husband. For her. I learned how she liked her bottles warmed. I memorized the lullaby that calmed her down. I was there when she took her first steps, said her first real word, and cried on her first day of kindergarten. Her father provided a last name. I provided everything in between. For 18 years, I never once reminded Emily that I wasn't her biological mother. I didn't want her growing up believing she owed me love. I simply loved her. And somewhere along the way, she became my daughter, without either of us needing to say it. That morning, before the graduation ceremony, she had hugged me so tightly that my glasses nearly fell off. "You're crying already," she teased. "I'm allowed," I told her. "I've been waiting 18 years.
She smiled.
Then she whispered, "I wouldn't be here without you, Mom."
Mom.
But hearing it that morning still felt precious. I glanced across the auditorium at my husband. He was smiling. We had been married for 21 years. Our marriage had survived difficult seasons, awkward silences, and pain people don't talk about at family dinners. I thought we had finally reached a peaceful place. I was wrong. After the ceremony, everyone gathered in the hotel ballroom for a small celebration. Emily was surrounded by classmates and relatives, accepting hugs and congratulations. I stood near the cake, watching her laugh. Then my husband tapped a glass with his spoon. "Everyone, can I have your attention?" People turned. He stepped toward the microphone. I smiled automatically. I thought he was going to thank Emily's teachers. Maybe say something sentimental about how proud he was. Instead, he looked directly at me. "Before we celebrate," he said, "I think there's something everyone should know." My smile disappeared. I had never imagined that pride could disappear so quickly. He continued, "I want to thank my wife for raising my mistress's daughter." The room went silent. Completely silent. Someone near the back gasped. I felt every pair of eyes turn toward me. My face burned, but I refused to look down. For 18 years, I had protected Emily from the ugliness surrounding her birth. And now, on the day she was supposed to remember as one of the happiest days of her life, her father had decided to turn that truth into a weapon. He smiled as if he had delivered some clever punchline. I heard a chair scrape behind me. Then, Emily said my name. "Mom." I turned. She was standing beside the head table, staring at her father. Her expression wasn't embarrassed. It wasn't confused. It was hurt. And then something changed in her eyes. She slowly walked toward the microphone. My husband reached for it. Emily stepped closer. "Dad," she said quietly, "give me the microphone." He stared at her. She didn't blink. For the first time that day, My husband looked nervous, and I realized something. Whatever he had planned to accomplish by humiliating me, he had no idea what Emily already knew. Emily took the microphone from his hand. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. That somehow made the room even quieter. "Dad," she said, looking straight at him, "you need to tell them the truth." My husband stared at her. "What are you talking about?" Emily turned toward the audience. "My mother didn't abandon me.
She didn't tolerate me.
She didn't raise me because she felt sorry for me." She paused. "She raised me because she loved me." My throat tightened. I had never wanted her to feel guilty about my choices. She understood more than I knew. "My mom has known the truth about me since I was a baby," Emily continued. "She knew I wasn't her biological daughter. She knew my father had been unfaithful, and she still stayed." My husband shook his head. "Emily, this isn't the time." "Yes," she replied. "It is." Emily's hands were trembling now, but her voice remained steady. "You want everyone to know that I'm your mistress's daughter?
Fine.
But if you're going to tell the truth, tell all of it." I whispered. "Emily, you don't have to do this." She looked at me. "I know, Mom. But I want to." She turned back toward the room. When I was 15, I found an old envelope in Dad's desk. My husband immediately stepped forward. "That's enough." Emily didn't stop. It had letters inside. Old letters. Between Dad and my biological mother. A murmur moved through the room. I had spent years keeping those details away from Emily. Emily continued. "I didn't understand everything at first, but I understood enough. Dad had been married to Mom when the affair happened." My husband looked at me. I didn't look away. "You told me Mom stayed because she couldn't have children," Emily said. "You told me she wanted a family so badly that she accepted me. That wasn't what had happened." Emily's voice cracked. "But I found something else." She reached into the folder she had been carrying. I found Mom's old journal. The journal contained everything I had never said aloud. Emily opened it carefully. "I read the first page," she said. "Mom wrote that she was scared. She wrote that she didn't know if she could forgive Dad. But then she wrote something else." Emily looked at me. She wrote, "This baby didn't betray me. The adults did." Emily continued. "That was when I understood." She looked at her father. "You were never the person who raised me." He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "You were my biological father," she said. "But Mom was the one who showed up." She began listing the things I had done. Every parent-teacher conference, doctor's appointment, school play, and late-night study session. Every birthday when Dad was traveling. Every time I waited outside practice because she was afraid to walk home alone. "Mom was there," Emily said. "You weren't. I worked to provide for this family." Emily nodded. "You did." Then she said quietly, "And Mom provided the family." My husband tried to reach for the microphone again. Emily moved it away. "You don't get to embarrass her today." He stared at her. I wasn't embarrassing her. I was telling the truth. "No," Emily said. "You were telling only the part of the truth that made you look like the victim." Nobody moved. Then she pulled another paper from the folder. "I found this last year." My husband saw it. His expression changed instantly. "What is that?" "A message you sent me." She read it aloud. "You told me not to call her Mom during graduation because you thought it would confuse people." Emily looked at me. I didn't listen. My husband whispered, "Emily, please." She shook her head. "You wanted everyone to know whose daughter I was." She turned toward the audience. "So, I'm going to make sure everyone knows who my mother is." Then she walked toward me. She took my hand, and in front of everyone, she said the words I had secretly wanted to hear for 18 years. "She's my mom because she chose me every single day." My husband stood frozen beside the microphone. But Emily wasn't finished. She looked back at him. "You brought everyone here to make her feel small." Her voice became softer. "But Dad, you forgot something." He stared at her. "What?" Emily smiled sadly. "You didn't raise the little girl you're trying to use against her." She squeezed my hand. "You raised a daughter who knows exactly who loved her." The room was silent again. But this time, nobody was looking at me with pity. They were looking at my husband, and for the first time, I saw fear on his face. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Then, my husband laughed. It was a nervous little laugh, the kind people make when they believe they can still control a room. "Emily, you're upset," he said. "You don't understand the whole situation." She looked at him. "I understand enough." That sentence changed everything. He lowered the microphone and stepped toward her, but she didn't move. Neither did I. My husband looked around the ballroom. "This is a family matter. We should discuss it privately." Emily shook her head. "You made it public." She turned toward me. "Mom, you spent my whole childhood protecting me from this." I swallowed. "I wanted you to have a normal life. You gave me one." Her eyes filled with tears. "You gave me a childhood where I never had to wonder whether I was wanted." Then she faced her father again. "You want to talk about biological family? Let's talk about what family actually means." My husband finally lost his composure. "I am your father." "Yes," she said. "And I love you because you're my father." He looked relieved for half a second. Then Emily continued. "But loving you doesn't mean pretending what you did was okay." His face fell. "You cheated. You lied. And when you got angry at Mom, you used me to hurt her." My husband looked at me. "Is this what you've been telling her?" I opened my eyes.
No.
He frowned. "I never told her those things." Emily answered for me. She didn't have to. She had seen everything. The missed birthdays, the arguments behind closed doors, and the mornings I smiled because I didn't want her carrying my pain. My husband tried one final defense. "I made mistakes." Emily nodded.
Yes.
"But Mom spent 18 years cleaning up after them." My husband looked around, realizing the sympathy he had expected wasn't coming. He had wanted the room to see me as the outsider. Instead, everyone was seeing him differently. He walked toward me. "I'm sorry." I believed he was sorry that his plan had failed. Not sorry for the 18 years. Not sorry for the betrayal. Sorry because his daughter had chosen my side. I shook my head. "Not here. Please." I looked at Emily. She was still holding my hand. That gave me the courage to finally say what I had been afraid to say for years. "You didn't humiliate me today."
He stared at me.
"You humiliated yourself." His mouth opened, but no words came. Emily squeezed my hand. "Come on, Mom." We walked away from the microphone together. For 18 years, I had wondered whether I had made the right choice by staying. Whether Emily would someday see only the woman who wasn't her real mother. That day, she answered every question without even realizing it. She had chosen me, not because she had to, because she wanted to. After the graduation, we sat together in my car. Then Emily leaned against my shoulder. "I'm sorry he did that." I kissed her forehead. "You don't have to apologize for someone else's choices." She looked at me. "You know you're my mom, right?" I smiled through tears. "I know." "No," she said. "I need you to really know." I nodded. For the first time in 18 years, I let myself believe it completely. My husband had tried to reduce me to the woman who raised another woman's child, but his daughter turned the story around. She reminded everyone that motherhood isn't always written in blood. Sometimes it's written in packed lunches, in hospital waiting rooms, in whispered goodnight prayers, in school projects finished at midnight, in every ordinary day when someone chooses to stay. And as I watched Emily walk beside me, graduation flowers in her arms, I realized something else. My husband had spent 18 years believing he had given me a child I could never have. He was wrong. I hadn't been given a daughter. I had been chosen by one, and that was worth more than anything he could ever take away. I knew the graduation wasn't the end. That night, my husband would have to answer questions he had avoided. Why had he betrayed me? Why had he waited until his daughter's proudest moment to make mother's pain public? I wasn't responsible for protecting his image. I was responsible for protecting life Emily and I had built. If walking away was price of peace, I was ready. I had spent 18 years choosing love. Now I was choosing myself.